Jack Clegg, for being with us. We're going to shift gears now, bring on another guest here on the program. He is the National Director of Operations for Veterans for America First, and his organization has a new documentary out, Border Invasion, an American Crisis. Chad Caton is with us here on the Ringside Politics program. Hey, Chad, how are you, sir? Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm living the dream. We're drinking out of a fire hose here in South Carolina as we're trying to take care of Nikki Haley.
Oh my gosh, she's horrible. I can't stand her. She's terrible.
She is, and I wanted to add to it. We are Veterans for America First, but we are also under the call sign as Veterans for Trump. So we are very involved in the Trump campaign and getting the boots on the ground and getting out there and taking it to Nikki here in South Carolina.
So, yeah, we can talk about that as well. But I wanted to talk about your new film, Border Invasion, an American Crisis. Tell us more.
Well, it couldn't come out at a better time. We're dropping it March 8th on the Salem News Network, and this is going to for worldwide distribution. And what we're doing is we are going to the raw aspect of what's really going on at the border. We have Victor Avila, who's running there at Eagles Pass. And, you know, talking about how he was left for dead, being shot by the Zetas cartel, and his partner Jaime Zapatas was killed in the same incident, where a lot of people thought it was really at the border in his story. But what it was he went to Mexico to get what he thought was boxes of evidence to be brought for another case. In an actuality, what they did is they went there and got the laundry and tchotchkes of his supervisor, who lived in Mexico at one time and ended up being ran off the road and killed. His partner killed, and him shot in the chest and the leg 3 times, and almost lost his life. We're talking about how that simple thing is happening and our government is hiding it, but at the same time, how our government is actually allowing this invasion to happen on all levels. It's going to be something for Democrats, liberals, and everybody to watch to really get a raw concept of what's happening at the border. I went to the border with Tim Foley from Cartel Land, the TV show Cartel Land, and we hunted the people that are bringing the drugs across. That's what he does. Mm-hmm. We looked for the cartel. We caught 2 guys carrying fentanyl and had them arrested, but Border Patrol came and picked them up. This is a raw video, and it's going to show what we're about at the border and why it's so detrimental that we close it as soon as possible, even though
what do you make of Congress worried about the Ukrainian border but not really worried about our border?
That's a conundrum, man. It's a real head scratcher. And y'all down there in the South, so there's a whole bunch of us that use discernment, God, and country, and sit there and go, none of this makes any sense. Square peg, round hole. You know, I look at it like, why is Ukraine so important? Putin doesn't want the Donbass region being bombed by its own people. They think they're Russians. They have their own squabble. And why we keep putting our children's future into Ukraine is beyond me, when we could very easily help their future by shutting down this border instead of being invaded by tens of millions of people.
Yeah, it's a shame that the members of Congress aren't listening to the people that keep saying, hey, we've got a crisis, we've got to do something, the border is open, we don't want millions of people flooding in here, we want to protect our jobs, protect our people. They're bringing in drugs, they're bringing in disease, they're taking away opportunities from Americans, we're paying the bills for all this. It's got to stop, and who knows, Chad, how many terrorists are among the millions that have flooded in here.
We've opened ourselves up to the idea of, one, not being sovereign at all and the security of its people. The number one job, I don't care what you think your government is supposed to do, the number one job of any government, from local to state to national, is the protection and safety of its people. And we are watching our own government put us in a position of peril. That is something that is egregious, and I'll say it, it's treasonous. There is no other way around it. As a former Navy Seavey and a former firefighter who has spent my entire life protecting the community around me, I am disgusted by it. And so are veterans across this country that are joining the quickest and fastest growing coalition to stand from the front. We've raised our hand before. There is no expiration date on that oath, and we're willing to do it again. And if that means we lead from the front getting people engaged in their political lexicon, then by God, that's what we need to do.
Can we put, and we appreciate your service, Chad, and all our veterans, and honor all of the sacrifices from our veterans for our country. Can we put our military on the border to help protect this country from an invasion?
Jeff, we can put the military, the police, firefighters, the landowners that butt up against Mexico. Why can't we? Why do we have to dictate when we have one job, and that is to keep our country sovereign? And in order to do that, you have to put men on walls. You know, we do it, and the elites do it all the time. Build walls around their complexes. In the military, when we're in a forward operating base, what is the first thing we do? The engineers, us Seabees, we built a wall that protected those inside. Why is it so crazy for us to think that we need to open up our borders to anybody and everybody for the evil that can come across it? It makes no sense in any reality. Any reality.
You know, I've always thought one of the main motivations for Biden to open up the border is political, because he thinks all these millions of people coming in here will eventually be Democrat voters and help the Democrats turn Texas blue, lock political power in, that they have a permanent hold on Congress and the White House, and then they can institute all of these dangerous policies with no pushback, because they'll control everything. So, I mean, I see political motivations here behind at least part of this.
Oh, it's probably the biggest part. You can only live on transvestites and crazy town for so long. You have to find a new voter base, because sooner or later people grow up and learn something. That's where we're at right now. The idea of a liberal side is a joke to me, because it's immoral at best. The moderate Democrat is a lost thing. The idea of the progressive left is a joke, and the people coming across the border is the army that they're going to continue to put themselves where they can, i.e. Marxism or world order. I don't know. But you're not wrong in what you're saying, because the liberal ideology is so ridiculous, you don't get to turn new voters. You have to go find them. They're coming to us.
Yeah. Chad, before I let you go, keep up the great work. I do want to ask about South Carolina. Please tell me that the voters there are going to rebuke Nikki Haley, who I find to be disgusting. But how's it looking there?
I'm out. I'm with you. She's pretty disgusting, especially when it comes to the military and you're having affairs while your husband's overseas. That's been put on affidavits and proven. The idea of who she is and what she represents is disgusting. And then here in South Carolina, she can't buy a vowel if we make a joke. And when it comes to the Republicans, the problem is, and what we've been fighting for about 10 years now, is the closing of our primaries. We have what we, essentially is a whorehouse primary. All you got to do is go to one. You go to the Democrats, that's why they moved it ahead of ours, so they knew how many people to vote. Right now, there's 980,000 Democrats that can actually walk in on February 24th and vote for Nikki Haley to stop Donald Trump.
Oh, wow. So it's an open primary completely, huh?
It doesn't get any more open. That's why I've given it a crass name, because there's no better way to explain it. And essentially what it is we don't have R's and D's after our name. And if you don't vote in the Democrat Party primary, you can vote in the Republican primary. And the thing is, they actually have named it. It's called Operation Primary Pivot. And where they go out and the Democrats, and they're even putting on social media, we're going to vote for Haley. We're going to stop Trump. And I don't think it works. I really don't, because I could never vote in a Democratic primary. I think I'd throw up, but I wouldn't be able to sleep. But at the end of the day, I think that you're going to see, and we're working diligently, the Trump campaign's working diligently to get out the vote and not take a poll of up 35, or the last poll I saw for interactive polling was that he's 45 points up on Nikki. But the Democrats just have to make up that 45 if they want. It's a dangerous situation, and I'm one to prepare for the worst and fight for the best. So we have to be cognizant of what's happening, and we cannot get complacent in South Carolina.
Okay. Good to hear, because we don't want to take anything for granted. Chad, thank you for your work, sir. We're going to link to your documentary and also to your site, and encourage people to check it out, support it, and look forward to having you back on. Thank you so much for being with us here on the Ringside Politics program.